Hello and welcome to Springboard, your virtual university. My name is Albert Okran, welcoming you on behalf of Team Springboard, ably led by Comfort. This is your most inspirational show and the point of convergence for the greatest minds. Your virtual university is brought to you by the Springboard Roadshow Foundation and proudly sponsored by MTN Pulse, the Enterprise Group, UMB Bank, with media support from the Multimedia Group and the Graphic Communications Group. So this month we're celebrating International Women's Day that fell on Tuesday the 8th of March, and as a result we're bringing you a very special interview with a woman of distinction. Kyerematen-Jimoh is currently the Strategic Partnership Lead of Microsoft's Africa Transformation Office. Prior to joining Microsoft, Angela was the Executive Director and Regional Manager for IBM North, East and West Africa, overseeing, guess what, 35 countries. She was the first woman and the first African to have served in that role and an inspiring thought leader in the tech space for the continent. Let me give you a bit more about Angela before I bring her on. She has over 20 years experience in sales and marketing across the financial services and technology space, handling both global and local assignments. Prior to joining IBM, she worked in the UK for UBS Investment Bank and ABN AMRO. It's just a banking and also a technology thing out there. She was also head of consumer banking for GT Bank Ghana and the head of prestige banking for UBA Ghana. And she serves on the board of Ghana's central bank, the Bank of Ghana. Angela, good to see you.
Good to see you too, and thank you for having me.
It's a blessing.
Thank you.
How are you feeling today?
I am well, and I'm hoping that this conversation would inspire somebody to do more.
Let's start by congratulating you on the occasion of International Women's Day, and by extension, all women making an impact on continents and across the globe. So congratulations to you.
Thank you. And congratulations to all the other women doing great things.
Absolutely. And then also on your recent appointments, including being on the board of the Central Bank.
Thank you.
Tell me, where did this all begin? Give us a sense of the journey of your life.
So it's been a very interesting journey. And I think that when I look back, God always had a purpose for my life. And everything makes sense now. Sometimes when you're going through stuff, you don't know why you are being taken through all that training. But as you progress in life, in your career, you understand that nothing really happens by chance and that there's a reason for everything. So my journey started in the financial sector and I moved on into technology. That is my professional life. But in terms of who I am, I was born to Grace Bonnie and Mr. Francis Kyerematen. My mother is an educationist. My father.
We have that in common. My mom is also a retired educationist.
Okay, so you understand the disciplinarian attitude of teachers.
Right.
So I grew up in a home where my mom was extremely strict and made sure that she embedded in us strict discipline. And we grew up knowing that we can be everything we put our minds to because we saw her do that. And I always say that you can never be what you cannot see. So my mom has been a great example to who I am today and has really influenced my life. So my mother is from Cape Coast, so I'm Fanti. My father was from Kumasi, so Ashanti. I was born in Accra. I grew up in Mampong Ashanti, where my mother was the headmistress of St. Monica Secondary School. And actually, she was the first African to take over from the white nuns when they left St. Monica's. And I think that being the first in many things, actually, I feel that sometimes it doesn't really impress anyone in my home because we've had a lot of that from my mother, right, as an example. So
just mentioning it strikes a chord with me that the picture you see growing up sometimes replicates itself in your life, in your career, in your aspirations. Would you say that That is something you probably must have picked from your mom.
Definitely.
Wow.
And I always say to people, you can never be what you don't see. And I have been greatly influenced by my mother because I grew up in a home where my mother was in charge. So I grew up thinking that women can lead. So it wasn't novelty to me to want to lead. So I always say that for our youth, it's important what they see and what they aspire to be, because that will definitely influence your behavior, and your behavior will influence or create the results, and the results will create who you are.
Give us a sense of your educational journey.
So like I said, I grew up in Mampong Ashanti, so I did my primary school in St. Monica's Primary School. And then I moved on to Wesley Girls High School for my O-levels. And then I did a year abroad. So what happened? Primary school, I skipped. In those days when you do well, they let you skip some classes. So I did class 1, class 2. I didn't do class 3. I was moved to class 5. And then I didn't do class 5. I did class 6.
You didn't do class 3, you moved to 4.
And then from 4,
5, you moved to 6.
6.
So you skipped 2 years.
2 years. So I was quite young for my age group, so I did my common entrance quite early. And so after O-levels, I think my mother actually thought it would be good for me to take a year out. And so I did AFS. So I went to Belgium when I was very young. I did a year abroad and came back after a year. That's why I speak French, because I lived with a Belgian family, amazing family, and they also influenced who I am today. I learned a lot from them. I learned a lot from their culture, and at a very early age, I was exposed to so much, living with a strange family, leaving home very early, going to live in a foreign country. And I opened up my mind to learn everything I could. And I look back, and that has also played a key role in who I am today. And that goes back to the point I was making, that nothing happens by chance. If you truly believe that there's a greater purpose for you, or there's someone really carving your way for you, and in my case, I believe it's God. I mean, people have different beliefs, and it's really up to the individual, but I believe that everything that has happened to me is because it was meant to happen at that time. So I did my AFS program 1 year in Belgium, came back, and I went to Achimota College for my 6th form. Did 2 years there, and then after A-levels, I went to the UK. I went to the UK to do my studies, and I fell in love. I fell in love.
About love.
Yeah, I fell in love with this really good-looking Nigerian guy, and I got married to him, and I have 2 beautiful boys from him. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. I was very young when I got married, but I do have 2 beautiful, beautiful boys from that marriage, and I had my kids very early. So my first year in university, I had my first son, and my final year in university, I had my second son.
You must
and my
be
last,
joking.
I know. And I still came out of university with a 2-1. And I remember telling my mom, so when I had my first son, my mom came for him so that I could concentrate on my studies.
What were you studying then?
I did marketing and French for my first degree.
Wow.
So I remember my mom came for my son and said, because my mom is an educationist, she's like, you really have to make sure you finish your degree, no excuses, etc. And then I remember getting pregnant again, and I was struggling to come and tell my mom that, oh, by the way, I'm pregnant again. So anyway, I came back home to see my son, and I told my mom, oh, by the way, I'm expecting my second child. And so she took one look at me and left the room. She didn't say anything. She couldn't handle it because she was just focused on me finishing my degree, because she was of the opinion that as a woman, you need your education. You know, your confidence will only come from your competence, and through studying, you will get your competence. So then I think she reflected on it, and she was like, okay, I think 2 days after, she came to me and said, okay, your son has been craving for you, so I think it's time you take your son back to the UK with you and have your second child, but I will let you go with someone to help you. So I was able to go with a lady who was staying with my mom, who is now part of my family, and I went back and had my second child. So I had I had Caleb in April, and I had to go back and write my exams, and I graduated that year. So I think my last exams were in May. So I had the baby in April, left the baby at home, went and wrote my exams, and I graduated with a second-class upper.
I'm enjoying the story
So-
because you actually graduated with a degree and 2 children.
2 kids.
Wow.
So my mom was like, I think she was full of admiration, but like every mother, she didn't want me to be swollen-headed. So when my results came and I'd done well, she was very happy for me because she believed that I needed my education and that is what would really place me somewhere in life. And I'm glad I did that. So I did my MBA at Birkbeck College. I started there, and then I went to Harvard to do PLD, so it's the Program for Leadership Development. So all my life, I knew that I am a leader, so I needed to equip myself to do a better job as a leader. Because right from infancy, I remember when I was in St. Monica's, I would gather all the teachers, the children, and I will lead them, like to do stuff like we will sing during Christmas, and I would organize people. So I knew I had that trait in me to lead.
Let me pull you back a second and ask you about what you just said. When you talked about leadership, you're saying that at an early age, you would organize people and then you will undertake what you would typically call an extracurricular activity. Sing, do stuff, organize stuff. How critical are some of these additional stuff in developing your career and by extension your leadership?
Totally important. Totally important. Sometimes when I talk to people and they ask me how I got here, it's always extending yourself and going beyond the call of duties at work that establishes you or takes you to the next level. I'll give you an example. So when I was at IBM as a marketing executive for West Africa, so I was responsible for marketing for Ghana and Nigeria. I did that for 2 years, and I was getting bored. And I looked around me and I was like, what it is that is missing in the organization that I could place myself or do to really help the growth of the company on the continent. And I realized that the strategy for building the business in Africa was developed in the US and brought to us here in Africa to implement the strategy. But there was nobody liaising between the offices in Africa and the corporate strategy office. So I wrote a paper on the need for someone to be the liaison between the Africa continent, the strategy being implemented in Africa, and the people who are actually crafting the strategy. And I presented it to my manager at that time, that was Joe Mensah, who is now at Cosmos Oil. I presented it to Joe, and I said, Joe, I think there's really a need for us to create this role. But I know it goes beyond you and I, but I just need your blessing to present it to the Senior Vice President of Strategy for the company. And I remember he took one look at me and was like, okay, that's quite bold. He didn't say it, but I could feel it. And I just said to him, all I need is your blessing. And honestly, I asked myself, what is the worst that can happen? Either he ignores me, or the best that can happen is you say, great job, let's go for it. So I presented it. So I sent him an email, and within 3 hours, he responded. And I remember opening my emails and seeing his response and going back to Joe, and I'm like, Joe, he actually responded. And Joe took one look at me like, did he? And I said, yes, he did.
What was he based in?
He was based in the US, and these senior vice presidents are like demigods in these multinational companies, so you normally don't even have access to them. So I remember him saying, okay, I'm actually thinking of a visit to Africa, so why don't you host me when I come, and then we can talk more about it. And that was the first time I was making contact with him. He didn't know who I was. He didn't have any background on me, but it was as a result of my hunger to do something extra to what I was brought in to do, and being able to take risk and not being shy about putting myself forward. So fast forward, he came to Africa. I hosted him And by the time he was going back, he had sent an email to the head of Middle East and Africa that he was creating the role of a strategic leader for Central East and West Africa, and he wanted me to
You must be joking.
be in that role. And that is how I moved from marketing to strategy leader, and that took me and my kids to Nairobi as an expat. So that was my first expat role, and that role was not given to me. I created the table, and I put myself on the table. And this stems back to my youth, where I used to organize stuff and think out of the box. So for me, I think what really defines you in the corporate world is your appetite to take risk, your ability to think out of the box, and your ability to push yourself and do more than you're brought in to do.
Say that again. Your appetite to take risks and your ability to do more
The
than
ability
you are
to do
brought in to do.
Yeah, more than you're brought in to do.
Wow. So, it starts at St. Monica's organizing people and singing, what do you say, singing, doing stuff.
Christmas carols.
Singing Christmas carols.
Getting all the kids together. And by the way, I was a tomboy when I was growing up. That's
Right.
something nobody knows. So my mother actually wanted a boy. So my mother's first child is a girl. So I think when she was expecting me, she started buying boys' clothing because she wanted a boy. So I blame my mother for that. So I came into this world, and I think I was just being put in boys' clothing
serious?
all the time. So I never really plaited my hair. I had very short hair. I was like a boy. And my mom tells me stories of some of her friends or the parents of the students in St. Monica's coming to her and saying, "Oh, I bought something for your son." And she didn't know how to tell them that, "Oh, by the way, it's a girl."
And this
It's a girl.
This fearless risk-taking culture makes you sit up and say, okay, this multinational organization needs this role. Almost like Joseph says, Pharaoh, you need somebody who can organize your economy and save for the first 7 years of abundance, and 7 years of famine will come. And this person must understand interest rates and organizing stuff and compound interest. And Pharaoh says, you are the one. So you literally created a role, presented it to the highest level, and got appointed.
Yeah.
The day you got the appointment, how did you feel?
I thank God. I was very grateful.
How big is God in your conversations, in your life, in your thinking?
Oh my God, you have no idea.
Tell me
I would
about it.
never be here without God. So that's another influence from my mother. I remember when we were growing up, my mother will be in the middle. She had a little altar in her room where we used to pray, and we would pray every morning. My sister on the right, myself on the left, will kneel down with her, and we would pray. And I saw what God did in the life of my mother, because my mother was a single mother bringing up 2 girls by herself and running an institution. And I saw all the things that came up against her, people trying to throw her off her game. And I remember how many times she used to go down on her knees and pray, and I could hear her crying when she was praying. So, and something good will happen after that, after she prays. So I grew up thinking, if you have a problem and you go down on your knees and you pray to God,
and
something will happen. And sometimes, oh God, the crying, I do plenty of that.
I get a picture of, and no wonder you started the interview by saying that you become what you see continually, because everything you describe is something that you saw growing up that has influenced what you do. So you say your mom would typically kneel down and pray and cry unto God about the things on her heart, and watching her do that, you saw results. And so on your career journey, you will typically kneel down and pray to God and sometimes cry to him, and it happens for you.
Definitely.
Would you agree if somebody says you are blessed to be where you are? You really are blessed.
Totally. Totally
Wow.
blessed. Totally. It hasn't been an easy journey. I think people just read about the successes. They read all the good things. But behind this, there's a lot of hard work, a lot of pain, a lot of dedication, a lot of commitment, a lot of discipline.
Wow.
That brings you to where you are. But people usually just see the results, but they don't see what goes into generating or creating the results. And I always say this, and I think I said it right at the beginning of the interview, that your beliefs will shape your behavior, and your behavior will create the results, and the results will make you who you are.
It's interesting that you talk about that. And for me, as I sit down, I'm just thinking, especially as we celebrate International Women's Day, I'm just thinking of many, not just young women, but also young men, people who are starting out in life, who are saying, what would I give to be called a regional executive for the continent, for a multinational, or sit at the table on the global stage with leaders all around the world, and not just done it once, you've done it again and again and again, and it's obvious that you are on the trajectory to global leadership in your field. For somebody who's starting out, who's saying, how will I also become the next Angela Kyerematen-Jimoh?
Set your goals and relentlessly prepare for your goals. So what I do on a daily basis is I create my to-do list, and I create another list, not to-do list. Why do I do that? The not to-do list will help me eradicate or take out anything that does not help me achieve my goals. And I keep preparing. I keep making sure that I am preparing for the next role. So even with this role, I'm moving to Morocco, Casablanca, and people are asking me, why you, of all the countries that you could have lived, why are you going to Casablanca? One thing, I believe every opportunity or every career move, you're supposed to, what took you there is not what will sustain you there. And I studied French and marketing for my first degree. I lived in Belgium. I was very fluent in French, but because I haven't used it for a long time, I have forgotten it. So when I was asked, where would you like to be based? When I went for this new role, I thought about it, and I said, maybe it's time to be really fluent in French if I'm going to be a true Pan-African leader. Because from here, I don't know what is next in line for me. But if I'm going to be a true Pan-African leader, in Africa, we speak French and English. So I have to be very comfortable to speak corporate French.
Is everything you do calculated?
Mostly.
This is Springboard at Virtual University, and if you just joined us and are wondering, what is this amazing conversation that we are having? My guest on this special International Women's Day edition is Angela Kyerematen, the Strategic Partnership Lead for Microsoft's Africa Transformation Office. And Angela is taking me back to her very beginnings, where her mother actually thought she was going to have a son and had a daughter, and then implanted a bit of a tomboy in her, and then how that influenced her growing up and her beginnings organizing people to do stuff, not just academic stuff, but just organizing people to do extracurricular activity, led to a certain entrepreneurial orientation that made her submit a game-changing document that created an African role that she ended up occupying. When I come back from this, I'm going to talk about the engine room at the very top. What happens there? What are the battles you fight? How do you combine the hard stuff of leadership at the top and the critical soft stuff of family, emotion, fears, doubts? You don't want to miss this when we come back. Let me remind you that all great countries are built on the back of entrepreneurs who are inspired and motivated to take risks and turn their startup SMEs into thriving corporations. This is the passion of Springboard, to inspire and fire up young generations of Africa to profitable enterprise. In this, we are proud to be associated with the Ghanaian bank famous for growing SMEs and startups since 1972. That makes it 50 years of UMB Bank supporting Ghanaians to conquer the commanding heights of this economy. And they've done this with distinction. As the bank celebrates its golden jubilee, it reminds Ghanaians that they continue to excel at the business of making banking and growing startups and SMEs a daily feature. Contact UMB today and they will come to you and work with you to grow your business to greater heights. UMB, bringing a uniquely Ghanaian perspective to banking since 1972. Let's go for this break. When we come back, let's break up the story even more. Please don't go away.
In a world where you can be anything, who will you become? When you can go anywhere and never be alone, how far will you go? When your voice can reach every ear in the world, who will you inspire? When your money can travel faster and further, who will it reach? When you can tell a story in every language, which one will you tell? When you don't need permission to turn your dreams into reality, you go for it. Whatever it is, wherever it is, go. And when you think you've reached your limit, we'll keep you going. Let's go.
There once was a man who had it all. He had skill, he had charisma. He was loved by all, but above all, he knew the importance of helping others, lifting others up. He knew the importance of giving other people an advantage so that they too would use that advantage to help others. All you need is that advantage that sets you apart from the rest. And when you discover that advantage, life's challenges don't seem so daunting anymore. That's where we come in. Enterprise, your advantage.
UMB was established in 1972 as the premier bank for the corporate and private sector in Ghana. From our very beginning, as the only Ghanaian bank serving all categories of businesses, we set a standard for excellence and innovation. Over the past 45 years, we've built a financially healthy and strong bank, demonstrated our commitment to our customers and to growing businesses, and exhibited originality and innovation at every turn. At UMB, our focus is built around people, service, products and technology. These are the key to our present success and our future triumphs. At UMB, we're poised to make a difference not only with our customers, but also in the banking industry. We invite you to share in our future. Our future starts now with you.
Welcome back to Springboard, your virtual university, brought to you by the Springboard Roadshow Foundation and proudly sponsored by MTN Pulse, the enterprise group UMB Bank, with media support from the Multimedia Group and the Graphic Communications Group. On Tuesday, make a date with the graphic business exactly on page 18, and you will see the full transcript of this exciting conversation that I'm having. Special edition, International Women's Day edition of the Engine Room with Angela Kyerematen-Jimoh of Microsoft and also of the Bank of Ghana, and a number of other extensions of her amazing career. She's been giving us some very powerful lessons. And let me give you, if you just joined us, let me give you a little insight into what you've learned so far. The first lesson was about pictures, growing up, watching her mother break barriers as the first headmistress of St. Monica's and believing that she could also break barriers. Lesson 2 is about exposure. 1 year spent AFS in Belgium, learning French, different cultures, different outlooks on life. Lesson 3, nothing happens by chance. If you truly believe that there's somebody guiding your life, in her case, God, he will guide you step by step to your desired destination. Lesson 4 is about the twists and turns. One of my favorite lessons. She says she got married to this great guy early in her life and had her 2 sons while pursuing her degree in marketing and French in the UK, but she still came out with good grades. She says the marriage didn't work out. I'll find out from her why it didn't work out. And for those who are building great professions, how do you combine that one with marriage, with faith, and all the things in the mixed bowl of life? Lesson 5 is about extracurricular activity. She says, very important. She started organizing her friends, her colleagues, and her teachers to sing Christmas carols while at St. Monica's, and then went on to learn how to be entrepreneurial and to lead people from there. Lesson 6, be hungry, take risks, and do more than you are brought in to do. She says, unsolicited, she wrote a paper about the need for a strategic connection between the strategy formulators and the implementers on the continent, and ended up taking a continental role while she was at IBM. I love that one. Lesson 7 is about God being a big factor in her life. She learned by watching her mother go on her knees and bring her big challenges before God and seeing God answer them. And she learned to trust God in prayer for solutions to the big challenges of her life. Lesson 8 is about the engine room. She says, people often get to see the big appointments, the big results, and the big recognition that comes with different roles, but they don't get to see the pain, the sacrifices, the denying yourself, sleeping on different continents, traveling from one plane to another, en route to the top. And programs like this give them a chance to get a peek into that one, Angela. And then the 9th one is tips for beginners. Please set clear goals for your life, relentlessly pursue them, and every day you wake up, please do a to-do list. And guess what? A not to-do list. Angela, you are trending well so far, learning from this great conversation. But let me pick up from which one so far is freaking you out, as I say in my pidgin language.
All of them.
All of them, because you give them.
They all come together to build
to make it complete. Let me push on to something that obviously will be of interest to many people building their lives, their careers. People want to know, has she failed before? Has she experienced setbacks before? Has it been all rosy? Because they'll say it's good for you, and rightly so, but let's talk about the downsides. Those moments you look up and say, God, is it going to work out? Do you experience doubts, fears, anxiety, setbacks, obstacles? Tell us about that one.
Oh, definitely. I think that we all face challenges, and I've had my failures, a lot of them, but I always come out of those episodes, I call them, a better person. I never let any of those episodes go by without me taking a lesson from them, because then it would have been a total waste of emotions and everything that comes with it. I failed many times. And I think a glaring one is I failed in my marriage. I wasn't successful in my marriage. And I look back on that, and I don't think it's fair on me to sit here and blame the other party for the failure. I think I also have to own up to my mistakes. And what I would do differently is I would pray more, because the devil doesn't like marriages. The devil doesn't like the union, the comfort, the support that marriage is supposed to render in your life. And like I said, I got married very early, and I don't think I invested in building my marriage as much as I've invested in bringing up my kids, pursuing my career.
You talk about your kids with so much pride. You love them. You must love them.
Like every other parent, they are my pride and joy. If you ask me today, my biggest achievement, it's bringing up those 2 boys.
Wow. Not your continental assignments, not your...
No.
Wow.
No. those titles can be taken away from you any day. But your children, that can never be taken away from you. And it's a reflection for me. Your kids are a reflection of who you are. And I have dedicated a lot of my life, time, energy, bringing up those two boys. Jamal is now an engineer. He's working for one of the leading technology firms in the world, following mom's footsteps. Caleb is doing his LLM. He's a lawyer, and he's studying tech law. So it looks like the whole family is moving into technology. And it goes back to what I said, that you can never be what you don't see. And I'm sure with my boys looking at me excelling in the tech world, it was a natural thing for them to think, okay, maybe we can take a step at this because this is where the action is, looking at our mother. So my boys are my pride, and everyone who meets my boys will tell you that they're very well behaved. And it's through prayers, hard work, and dedication.
So with the benefit of hindsight, you will say that if you had to do this differently, you will spend more time investing in prayer. And you say you've invested far more in your career, in your parenthood, than you did in your marriage.
Yeah, and I think that as women, when we are married, the honors is really on us to go down on our knees and bring that relationship to God for guidance. I think I was too young to understand certain things, and I took everything at face value. I was like tit for tat. You do me, I do you. And that is not the right attitude to have. And I think that if I am to do it all over again, the only thing I'll change in that is I'll pray more. I will make it less about me and more about us, and find a good way to communicate as well, because that, I think, is very important, communication in marriage.
One of the most heartwarming contributions to this discussion, not today's, but in the engine room last year, to this particular subject was made by my friend Hazel. Hazel is a top HR executive, and she said the big challenge of every career woman is navigating, and she was also talking about a failed relationship, and she says navigating your career, your marriage, or your family and your faith is like a golden triangle, and if you're able to get all three, it's great. But if you miss out on one, much as it is painful, it's also a learning experience, and she celebrated all those who are able to hold all three together. Is this something that you subscribe to?
Totally.
Those three are
totally
big.
And I think some of us have to fail so that we'll be able to also motivate others to do better. And I get a lot of married women who are also trying to juggle the corporate life, bringing up kids, talking to me and asking me. And initially, I used to take a step back and ask myself, why are they asking me when they know that I wasn't very successful in doing it? But they ask me because they know that I have taken some good lessons from that, and I'm able to motivate them and encourage them and use my life as an example to encourage them to stay and pray and make things work. So it's important some of us fail so that we can also be the ladder on which people can step to get to where they want to be.
That's very magnanimous. You talk about failure so comfortably. What kind of person are you? I mean, we talk about the big roles, but you are definitely an individual, a person. What kind of person are you?
If I'm to describe myself, I'm a very passionate person. I am a non-conformist. So I'm a leader, not a follower. I am a go-getter. I love God. And I have faith without boundaries. Faith without boundaries.
You know, have you considered writing a book?
Maybe one day you and I will write it together.
Why not? I mean, a passionate non-conformist and go-getter who loves God and has faith without boundaries.
And very focused.
All right, let me add that one. Maybe, who knows, we will actually write this book. I've always believed, throughout my career, especially when I was in publishing, I always believed that we must deliberately write African success stories. The young African who wants to read a book must always have a first choice of an African story to read before they even consider those from role models in other continents. And it's in line with what you said about what you see is what you become.
So let me just say this. For me, I'm not there yet. There's so much more to be done. But whilst on that journey, if I'm able to inspire people, why not? But I still believe there's so much more for me to do. And I feel I've just scratched the surface. So what I pray for is the humility, the ability to learn, the ability to accept my shortfalls and work on them, and the availability to make myself available to help others who are pursuing the same journey. But I don't wake up in the morning and think, wow, I've arrived, let's write a book. Let people see what we've accomplished, because there's still so much more that we can do.
I'll tell you what, your objection is like that of Moses when God said to them, you can lead. It's almost like that of Jeremiah when God said to them, before you were formed in your mother's womb, I knew you. And it's like the objection of many people that I get to interview, and I say, wow, you're doing great stuff, let's write a book. They say, listen, wait, just wait. I still feel I'm not there yet. And I say, you know what? Even your imperfections and even your uncompleted building is exactly what somebody needs to see to just believe and step out and do great stuff. And I can't afford to wait until you are retired and drinking a cup of tea, mint tea, and looking at the wall.
You are spot on. And I think you make a very good point there, because I think that's one of the issues with women as well. We aim for perfection. We want to, and I'll tell you a quick story. I remember when, after I've done all that I needed to do at IBM, and the role came up to be the first woman country general manager, I got a call. It was my birthday, and my boss, still talking about doing things beyond what you're brought in to do. Even though I wasn't in sales, I was leading the team in some of the strategic deals on the continent, leveraging the relationships I have. And I remember all the time that I was doing that was like extracurricular thing. Management was watching. So when the opportunity came for them to find a new country general manager after Mr. Joe Mensah left for Cosmos Energy, I remember I was in London, I think it was my birthday, and I got a call from the head of Middle East and Africa, and he was like, we want you to go back to Ghana. And this time I was in Nairobi with my boys, and we want you to go to Ghana and be the country general manager for Ghana. And my first reaction was, no, I can't do it, because it's unprecedented. Nobody moves from marketing in the company to now run a country and run the sales team. So to your point about waiting for perfection, my first reaction was, no, I don't think I'm ready for this. And I think I haven't done sales in the company. And I kept going on, and he just said to me, stop, Angela, you can do this. You don't need to be perfect for it. We are all here to guide you. And you've already demonstrated that you can do this, and we are all behind you. So it's a trait of women that we want to wait to be completely perfect before we do stuff. Unlike some of our male counterparts who would just go for it, we struggle to stand in our success sometimes. And I think that is something that we need to work on.
Is it a product of our socialization and the way we are generally raised up, that you want to be fully assured that you are ready before you step into stuff?
I'm not sure whether it's because of how we're raised, but I think that women usually are like that. Men, on the other hand, will take the job, even if they feel that they are not qualified, and learn on the job. A woman would want to do all of that, get it perfect before they... So I don't think it's our upbringing. My mother brought me up that I need to be perfect before I do stuff, because I saw her do things that were out of her comfort zone. But I think I can talk personally for myself. I think it's just the fear of you failing sometimes that holds you back. And once you're able to overcome that, and once you're able to stand in your success, you believe that you're unstoppable, and you go out and even take roles that you know you will grow into them. You may not be completely ready, but you have the basics. You will have the fundamental basics that you can build on, and you can grow from there.
Will that be a big message to women on International Women's Day? The fact that you can believe in yourself, put yourself out there, take the role, even make mistakes, but you will learn and grow. Would that be a summary of your message to women?
So I think for me, three things that I have really struggled with, and once I was able to partially conquer them, it has really served me well. The first one is building your confidence. And confidence comes with competence, so you have to always make sure that you are equipping yourself and relentlessly preparing for the future, of preparing for your next big role. And how do you prepare for that? You have to make sure that you have the leadership skills, you have the, I'll talk also about having emotional intelligence, which is very important as you climb up the ladder, and also communication skills. Those three things are very much needed if you are looking to build your confidence.
So then you're talking about building your confidence, which comes with competence.
It comes with
and
competence.
And then prepare deliberately for your next big role.
Yeah.
Have emotional intelligence and communication skills.
Yeah, and your leadership skills. Work on your leadership skills as well.
Great.
And the second one, I'll talk about one of the biggest internal challenges I had, apart from the external challenges that you face as you climb up the ladder, is speaking up. So it's not enough being at the table. You have to let your voice be heard, irrespective of the odds. And I think that women sometimes shy away from speaking up because we don't want to be branded as either conceited or too boastful. But it's only when your presence is felt at the table that you command the respect that you need. So yes, a lot of us are getting a seat at the table, which is really good. But what took you to the table is not what will sustain you there. And once you get there, you need to make sure that your voice is heard and you speak up irrespective of the odds.
My final question to you, Angela, is about what you just said. What took you to the table is not what will keep you there. I'm trying to find out from you. Your CV is almost like a ladder. So you climb from one role to another and to another, and it's almost like you certainly will move to a higher role and a higher role and a higher role. What does it take to sustain that continued climb? And how do you even know the timing to get it right to make that next move? How do you do that?
So I made a point at the beginning that if you are certain that there's a higher authority guiding your life, and in my case is God, you know when it's time to move. You know when it's time to take the next move. And everything will align. Everything will align. And you will know it. When you take that decision, you'll be at peace with yourself. You won't fret. And even though you will have challenges as you move into that role, you will still have what it takes to actually survive in the role, make an impact. Because You know, you hear all these announcements and then you hear another announcement, but you don't hear what happens in between those announcements. All the hard work, all the sacrifices, the discipline. One thing I've come to know is that, especially as a woman leader, people will try to take you off your game completely. So if you go into your role knowing that that is going to happen, but you're very clear, you know what your purpose is, and you stick with that. You block out the noise, and you focus on delivery. You focus on impact. For me, that makes you unstoppable. Every time I've climbed up the ladder, it comes with new challenges. And you're constantly trying to defend or confirm why you're there. And I think it happens more to women than men. And the way I've overcome that is just to block out the noise. Sometimes I don't even read comments when some announcements come out, because as much as you get people celebrating you, you also get people who say things that they don't have a clue about. So the way I deal with that is make sure that I block out the noise, I keep my eye on the ball, I remain focused, and nothing, absolutely nothing, takes my eye off the ball.
You mentioned the word unstoppable 4 times in this conversation. Have you ever felt like giving up?
Yeah, many times.
How do you get around that?
There are days I lock myself up in my bedroom and I cry the whole day. I don't speak to anyone. I pray. And then I wake up the next morning, I wash my face and I say, let's go. We've got work to do. There are many days like that. There are times that it gets so heavy because I've always had to prove myself. Every time I'm given an opportunity, the people who are giving me that chance believe in me. They know that I can do it. But there are other people around who are just watching, waiting, throwing things your way to take you off your game. So that can be heavy on you as a person. And I know I'm talking for other women in similar situations. It's not just me. So it gets tiring. And you keep going. You have to constantly reinvent yourself, constantly learn. And I remember, so my background, like I said, is in marketing and French. And I remember 2 years ago, someone made a comment and said, oh, you're very good at what you do, but you're not technical. I was talking to a technical person and he said, but you're not technical. You're very good at what you do, but you're not a technical person. So you know what I did? I enrolled in a data science course. So as I speak to you, I'm actually doing data science.
So everything that is thrown at you becomes a stepping stone to improvements. That's what you're saying?
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. If you met God and he gave you 3 words maximum to say something to you, what would you say?
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Ah, that's 6 words. If you met somebody struggling at the beginning of her career, his career, and they look up to you and they say, give me 3 words, what would you say?
Focus. Work hard. Believe in yourself.
Focus, work hard, believe in yourself. That is, again, 6 words. And then when you see yourself in the morning at the beginning of a day, what do you tell yourself in 3 words?
Let's go.
Let's go. If you just joined us, this has been the voice of Angela Kyerematen-Jimoh, helping us to appreciate the story of her life and walking us through her big lessons. And I have them lined up here, and I've given you the first 9 already. I'm going to go by them again. Pictures was the first one, seeing her mother break new grounds. Second one was exposure, traveling to Belgium, learning French, learning different cultures early in life. Third one, nothing happens by chance. God is in the center of everything. Fourth one was about twists and turns, marrying early, having a children whilst in school, and then raising up great boys being the center of your life. Fifth one, be hungry, take risks and do more, submitting a paper that was not requested, and that paper becoming the springboard for a massive career rise. That was number 6, sorry. Fifth one was extracurricular stuff are important. Going beyond the call of duty always opens doors and extends your career, and that started as in Monica's. That was your number 5. Number 6 was about be hungry, take risks, and do more, and that was about the paper. Number 7 is about the God factor, a big centerpiece of her life, the God factor. The 8th one is about the engine room. People hear the announcements and the next one, but in between those two announcements is pain, tears, hard work, and sleepless nights. The 9th one is a tip for beginners. Set your goals, relentlessly pursue them, and every day create your to-do list and, importantly, your not to-do list. 10 is about failure. She says you've experienced several episodes. I like the word episodes of failure. The obvious one being marriage, but she's learned from that, and looking back, could have prayed more and communicated better. And she's a better person as a result of these learnings. Number 11, your biggest achievement, Angela, bringing up your 2 boys, Jamal and Caleb. Jamal is an engineer in a big tech firm, while Caleb is a lawyer studying tech law. She says the tech is traveling right to them, and they are your pride. Number 12 is about, who am I? A passionate nonconformist and a go-getter who loves God, is focused, and has faith without borders. I like that one, faith without borders. Number 13 is you pray for humility to learn, to grow, accept your shortfalls, and help others on your journey. That was very, very sweet. 14 is about sometimes feeling unprepared. The quest for perfection making you say, you know what, I don't think I'm ready for this or not qualified for this. And she says it tends to be a trait with women who want to get it very right before they step out, while the men may step out, make mistakes, learn from them, and grow. And she says it comes out of sometimes a desire to get it so right before you step out. And the final one is your message to women on International Women's Day. Build your confidence. It comes with competence. Prepare deliberately for your next step. And along the way, make sure you have emotional intelligence, communication skills, and leadership skills. And when you get to the table, please let your voice be heard so that others can also rise up and do big stuff. Concluding thoughts, you say, sustaining progress. God has guided me every step of the way, and things always align. Angela, I've enjoyed this.
Me too.
Let's do this again.
Very soon.
I believe so. Let's
when
have this
my
conversation.
next announcement comes out.
Is there another big one coming?
I don't know.
Oh,
we'll ask God.
But God is always in the center. I want to say a big thank you to you for making time for this conversation.
Thank you for having me.
And once again, congratulations on International Women's Day. You are our special guest for all the great women out there trying to live out your dream, trying to step out and do what your parents couldn't do, or your grandparents couldn't do, or your parents' parents couldn't do. May Angela's story inspire you to do something big for country, for continent, and for the world at large. So we celebrate you and especially congratulate all women on the occasion of International Women's Day that fell within the past week. My name is Albert Okran on behalf of Team Springboard, led by Comfort, and on behalf of our sponsors, MTN Pulse, the Enterprise Group, UMB Bank, and our media partners, the Multimedia Group, and the Graphic Communications Group, saying, God bless you, and God bless you.